What's up, you guys? This is Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes, your go-to Atlanta realtor, and here we are again. Yes, it's the end of the year, so what does that mean? Predictions for the next year in the housing market. And we're gonna take a look at all of the highlights of what Zillow predicts for the national housing market, and I'm gonna bring it to a local perspective here in Atlanta so that you know what you could be expecting here in Atlanta, Georgia. So why don't we start with the first Zillow prediction? More homes will hit the market as homeowners accept that mortgage rates aren't falling anytime soon. Well, for this one, I would probably agree, and especially here in Atlanta with a lot of people that are just sitting on the sidelines. They want to sell their house for various reasons, but they can't because the rate that they're at is locked in at 2.5% or 3%, and they know they're gonna have to buy another house at 7%. Now, of course, there is gonna be this huge pool of buyers waiting for this to happen who need to sell first in order to buy. But there's a difference between those that want to buy and those that need to buy. And no matter what the economic conditions are like, there's always gonna be that small pool of people that have to buy. And what are those people? The people that are getting married, people that are getting divorces, the ones that are having more kids, so they need bigger homes, a job relocation, whatever it is, those are the kinds of things that you can expect. You know, unfortunate incidents such as, somebody passing away and now they need to downsize. That's another one. And again, you've got some buyers that are gonna be first-time home buyers, but according to this prediction, we're honing in on those that are home owners. They need to sell for whatever reason so they can buy. Those people, the good news is they have a lot of equity, especially if they bought prior to 2021, they should have a lot of equity that they can tap into once they sell to be able to move to another place. And the rates, they skyrocketed all the way up to 7% last year around June, July. They came down a little bit around 6% at the beginning of this year, 2023. And then they went all the way back up to 8% as a high. And then now they're around 7%, 7.1%. So I think these homeowners, they're just sitting on the sidelines and they're waiting. They're noticing, okay, the rates have fluctuated a little bit, but it seems to be kind of around that 6.5, 7.5 mark, and it's not gonna change anytime soon. It might, and one thing to realize is that according to Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist for National Association of Realtors, he mentions, and I very much frequently reference him because he's always spot on a lot of times with his predictions, is he's saying that in the spring of 2024, the interest rates could be around 6%. Now, if we think back to when the last time that was the case, it was January of this year, it was 6%. And usually the market starts to heat up around March or April, but things started heating up around January. And I think it's because people knew these rates could go higher, so they try to get in right at the beginning of the year. But the last thing I want to hit on this one prediction is this. There's another category of people that are groaning. Groaning as in they've been living in their house for however many number of years, and it could be a short amount of time, 1 or 2 years or 10 to 15 years, that for whatever reason, the home no longer fits their needs and they need to sell. And even though the rates are so high, if their motivation level is high enough, they have a good enough reason to move, they're still gonna move. And I think that level of the number of people is starting to reach an all-time high as far as the groaning, complaining kind of mindset, for good reason, that they're saying to themselves, we gotta make a move, and 2024 is the year to do it. Prediction number 2, home buying costs will level off, giving hopeful buyers a chance to catch up. Now this one, I kind of have a mixed opinion. I half agree, half disagree. If, as I was saying earlier, the prediction is that rates will go down to 6%, during the spring of 2024, then yes, home buying costs will start to level off in that regard. But there's always this possibility, this looming factor about home prices going up again when people who've been waiting on the sidelines for so long, ready to buy, are gonna start pouncing into the market once those rates hit a certain low. So if we see 6%, great. But maybe for that brief 2 or 3 month period of time, it'll be a great time to buy. After that, home prices could start rising again. So just be mindful of that. Quite frankly, let me be honest, we're living in unprecedented times. And we use that word a lot, unprecedented, especially during COVID. But with the aftermath of COVID, we can definitely see something that we've never seen in our lifetime. And that is an increasing number of people renting, more home buyers that are not selling because of the rates and the interest rates coming at historically low rates. These are the things that previous generations didn't experience. That even just 10 years ago, we didn't have to deal with this. Prediction number 3, the new starter home will be a single family rental. Well, that's a bold prediction, and I must say, as a realtor, I don't know if I want to hear that, but look, I'm going to be honest. For some people, in whatever stage in their life is, that specific stage could be the time where they need to rent. And that is the time where they can start building up, saving for a down payment so that they can purchase a home. So for various reasons, renting can be a good thing, especially when you've got the landlord covering all the costs of expenses, especially if it's a home that's older and you have that flexibility of being able to move. So I get it. I used to be a renter myself, and at that time in my life, it was very much necessary. But now, having a family, settling down, it makes sense to own a home, build equity, and build for the future. And here in Atlanta specifically, I could definitely say that there are more communities where I'm starting to see signs at the front entrance of these communities saying, single family home for rent. I mean, they're brand new construction homes and they're having this sign that says for rent. And honestly, even if this is one of the only options for people with bigger families but don't have the down payment and the apartment's not big enough, this is a good option for them. It does, in a sense, hurt the overall housing market because that means those homes that could have been for purchase, increasing the inventory and the availability of homes to choose from, is not there because they're rentals. So again, just one thing to keep an eye on the future, how that really impacts the overall housing market in Atlanta. But again, I think it's just about the stage in a person's life and how they can get to the next stage of home ownership. Prediction number 4. More markets will follow New York City's lead with rental demand surging near downtowns. Now, I have a few friends that work in the real estate industry in New York City. Prices never really came down there, and the inventory there is extremely low. I mean, it's pretty low here in Atlanta too. We're at 40% less inventory now than pre-pandemic numbers, meaning in 2019, which was already considered really low inventory, it's lower now by 40%. So it's extremely low. And yet New York City is even lower. So what does that say about the Atlanta market? Well, there is a bill that's trying to be passed right now as we speak about trying to outlaw the purchases of homes as investment properties, particularly for institutional investors, those that own upwards of over 100+ rental properties. Some have argued that this might not have that much of an effect because out of all the homes that are in America, they only take up a small percentage, maybe 3% of all homes, which doesn't come out to many. But I also think we need to consider which cities are more institutionally invested. So Atlanta, Georgia actually is in the top 5 for the most rental properties. 30% of purchases of homes are bought by investors, whether it's mom and pop investors that own 1 or 2 versus regional investors that own 50+ or institutional that own 100+. So if we see more of these homes that are being up for rent, then it's going to artificially keep the inventory low, which will cause people to want to rent more. Now, having said that, even though we're in the top 5 for most purchases bought by investors, we have one thing that New York doesn't have, and that is we still have land. So new construction homes are still being built. In fact, some of them have the greatest incentives going on that attract buyers currently in this market. So with that new construction, it helps to keep the inventory higher than, say, New York City. Prediction number 5. Traditional home buyers will compete with home flippers for homes that need a little TLC. TLC means tender love and care. Homes that need to be fixed up to really be lived in. They're not move-in ready. They kind of are, but not 100%. Now for this one, I agree and disagree. I agree in the sense that the inventory is so low, there's not many homes to pick from. So the ones that are, there's gonna be some that are not in move-in ready condition that for a buyer that's motivated to buy a home, that may be the only thing they can choose from. But then I also disagree because again, this is all based on, city by city, state by state. And again, talking about the Atlanta real estate market, we have a lot more new construction than other housing markets. And so people have an option for those new construction homes. Now, having said that too, with the rates being higher, Still, buyers are going to be picky, and for good reason, because they want a home that's going to fit their family and in their budget. If they're going to have to pay a lot for a home at a 7% interest rate, they're not going to want to tack on another $10,000 to $30,000 worth of move-in ready upgrades or just trying to get it up to code on different things like repair items out of pocket. So again, I've noticed that these homes are sitting on the market longer. In fact, I knew one in Peachtree City that has been on the market for more than 60 days in a great school district, and not many homes for sale in that city. You would think it would have sold fast, but it didn't because it needed a lot of repair work. And last but not least, prediction number 6, artificial intelligence will enhance the home search experience. Well, I could definitely say that I use ChatGPT in my work, and just out of curiosity for certain topics, I could see a consumer using ChatGPT searching for, find me a home that's in Brazelton, Georgia on the lake that is under $700,000 with picturesque views. But you know, there are a lot of criteria that you can use these search engines for, whether it's Zillow or our FMLS system here, the multiple listing service. So I think for the most part, it has been very useful in being able to filter out what a consumer is looking for. I think it's when you get into the off-market transactions where you can really locate something that way, but then they're still finding that motivated seller. But saying all that, I would think AI is going to definitely impact the housing market to some degree, and especially here in Atlanta, maybe for the investors, because they're the ones that are trying to outcompete the institutional investors. That is, the ones that are trying to become first-time investors. Okay, and last thoughts from me. I would say in the Atlanta market, we have seen, a jump in competitiveness and people wanting to buy a house at the beginning of this year. Then it really caught fire into the summer. I had one transaction where a guy paid over $150,000 over asking price for a beautiful $1 million home in Duluth, Georgia. That was on the top end for competitiveness. On the low end, I saw a client buy a house that was 55 days on market, and they even put in an offer that was lower than the asking price by $5,000, got accepted, and then on top of that got another $10,000 in repairs. So right now the spectrum's kind of wide, but again, we're in the slow season. October, November, December is known traditionally to be the slowest time of the year. I imagine that starting in January, things will pick up, but it will be interesting because we've seen some records broken. For example, the historically pending home sales for every month hit an all-time low ever in the month of December nationally, meaning we have the fewest homes under contract ever. I'm talking about like since 2008 when things were really bad. So we're not experiencing a great recession in the sense that home prices are dropping because the inventory is so low, but we're seeing kind of a semi-recession in terms of people are not moving, there's nothing on the market, and it's a little bit unaffordable for buyers. I get it. So my solution to the problem that I would recommend to people is that if you are looking to buy a home, find a home that is less square footage than what you originally anticipated. Find a home that may be in an area that you weren't particularly interested in, a city that you were not thinking of moving to, but now you might need to be open-minded about. Look at new construction, where some of the greatest incentives are going on with interest rate buy downs as low as 5% in some neighborhoods. That's something to look at. And if you do, you definitely want to take advantage of the 1-year long-term rate lock, where you can lock in your rate now all the way up until the time it's fully completed, because it could take 8 months to build a new construction home. That if the rates are lower, you will get that lower rate. If it goes higher, then the rate that you locked in 8 months ago will be your rate at that time when you're about to buy the house. And all the while, find some creative ways to make and invest, earn money, save for that down payment, because homeownership really is something that I fully believe in, because we could turn into the next UK or Germany where 90% of homes are rented out. And we don't want to be a renter nation, because having that equity built into the home, the moment that happens where your entire mortgage is paid off, life changes instantly for the better. I fully believe that, and I've seen that. So I think that if we can achieve that as a long-term goal, it will be worth it in the end. We just have to be able to see that and have that intestinal fortitude to keep moving forward. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. I'm going to do other predictions here now that we're towards the end of the year. Stay tuned and see you on the next video.